To 15 will be underway in the toing and throwing battle to be crowned MotoGP World Champion this season. Jorge Martin 12 points clear of World Champion Pecco Bagnaia as they do battle over 27 laps. That will be coming up at the top of the hour at 3 p.m. local time. Our coverage will start in just under 3 minutes time. So myself, Lewis and Simon will take a little bit of a breather here in Mandalika, and we look forward to your company very, very shortly. MotoGP has landed in Lombok as the battle for 2024 glory moves from Misano to Mandalika. Lombok is considered one of the best surfing spots in the world, and its world champion Pecco Bagnaia riding the crest of a wave after his sprint success punishes a big Mandalika mistake from Jorge Martin. No time for frayed nerves on the flyways. It's time to race in MotoGP. So first open back in November 2021. Of course, MotoGP came back to Indonesian shores for the first time in 25 long years in 2022. 4.3 kilometres in length, 2.67 miles is the Pertamina Mandalika International Circuit. 17 corners, 11 right, 6 of them left. And what a spectacular location it is, right on the beautiful, picturesque Lombok coastline. A short 507-metre start-finish straight, hard-braking then into the first corner. Tight through turns 2, 3 and 4 before the track really opens up. Spectacular speeds carried through the second sector. Turn 11, of course, last year was where Jorge Martin crashed out of the lead in the Indonesian Grand Prix. Turn 16 caught out the Spaniard in the sprint yesterday. overtaking hot spots into turns 1, 10 and 13. A long 27-lap Grand Prix coming up from MotoGP. You have to manage the tyres in the extremely hot conditions. 1, 10, 12 and 16 overtaking hot spots here in Mandalika. This was world champion Pecco Bagnaia, who started 13th, attacking for the win on Maverick Vinales at turn 10. Coming up next in MotoGP, Marc Marquez looks to go on the march again in Mandalika after a stunning sprint fight back. Enea Bastianini wants a title boost with back-to-back wins for the first time in MotoGP. Victorious 1 year ago, will Pecco Bagnaia love Lombok again with an 8th win in 2024? And can World Championship leader Jorge Martin master Mandalika after a surprise sprint stumble? So ahead of the 13-lap Tissot sprint here in Mandalika, World Championship leader Jorge Martin 24 points clear of Pecco Bagnaia in the standings. Got the whole shot and led early on as Marc Marquez made a stunning start. 7 places, the 8 times world champion picked up in the first corner alone. 12th to 3rd eventually would be the 93, but there was the key moment at the end of the first lap into turn 16 after he crashed there on Saturday morning. Jorge Martin crashing out of the lead for Prima Pramac Racing. A close call late on in the sprint between Marco Bezzecchi and Pecco Bagnaia. And Enea Bastianini fighting his way through on Marc Marquez to secure just his 3rd sprint podium of the season. But for the 5th time in 2024, it's sprint success for reigning world champion, factory Ducati star Pecco Bagnaia. And with Jorge Martin rarely finishing outside the points in the sprint, he saw that 24-point lead in the World Championship cut in half. It would have certainly cut Jorge Martin deep yesterday with that mistake at turn 16. The deep waters of the beautiful ocean surrounding this magnificent Mandalika circuit. What a breathtaking location that is, as we get set for the spectacle of the Grand Prix of Indonesia in MotoGP coming up in about 40 minutes time, over 27 laps in hot and humid conditions. And there is a little bit of a welcome breeze about, which was certainly picking up at the start of the earlier Moto2 race. But now it is full focus and all the attention moves on to Chapter 15 in this 20-round MotoGP World Championship. Back in wonderful Indonesia. As we mentioned, we had to wait 25 long years before we returned to these shores, where we returned to race in front of arguably MotoGP's most passionate fan base in the world. The Indonesian fans have come out in their droves for this race day number 15 to see who will be our winner in the Pertamina Grand Prix of Indonesia. As Miguel Oliveira, of course, 2 years ago, who splashed his way to success for the factory KTM team. Sadly, there'll be no repeat of that brilliance from the Portuguese rider, because he is sidelined after fracturing his right wrist. Multiple fractures in that right wrist after a crash at turn 4 on the track out of Aprilia here on Friday morning. Major doubts already back in Europe for potential surgery as Oliveira. Major doubts about whether he'll be able to participate in any of this crucial and crunch 5-race flyaway swing, which takes us to Indonesia today. We move quickly on to Motegi in Japan. A week's break before we resume hostilities down under in Australia, and then to Thailand and Malaysia. Matt Burton-Lewis to be in the commentary box with Simon Crafar, trying to keep himself cool, which is no easy challenge in the heat and humidity here in Mandalika down in pit lane. Yet another big twist and turn then in this year's MotoGP World Championship yesterday. as Jorge Martin fluffed his lines, crashing out at turn 16. The door open for Pecco Bagnaia, although he had a big scare, Lewis, with Marco Bezzecchi in the midpoint of that sprint, as we see the Pertamina-backed VR46 racing team sporting their beautiful, gorgeous home race one-off livery.
Yeah, if you're still trying to predict how this MotoGP World Championship is going to pan out, you might as well stop, because every time we think we've figured this one out, there's always a sting in the tail. The latest came yesterday with Jorge Martin's crash out of the lead at the end of the first lap, a sprint that we thought was going to go only one way, and that was this way towards the 89 of Jorge Martin. That crash opened the door for Pecco Bagnaia, an opportunity he was not going to pass up. Bagnaia had the best view in the house of Jorge Martin's mistake. He felt Martin was pushing too hard and going too fast on the first lap. Whatever the cause, Jorge Martin's sprint hopes ended here.
Yeah, and this followed a truly astonishing performance in qualifying yesterday morning. Martin powering to his 6th pole of the season in record-breaking fashion, but it all slipped through his grasp as that front tyre slipped out from underneath him going through turn 16. He quickly remounted and fought his way back through from last to 10th place, but of course in the short format of Sprint Saturdays, points on offer only for the top 9. 34 sprints we've had in the new era, which started, of course, at the start of 2023. 33 sprint finishes for Jorge Martin. That was the first time he has not scored a point. These were the thoughts of world champion Bagnaia when he spoke to Jack Appleyard yesterday. Martin was entering too fast. Like that, he would have won the race by 4 seconds, which somewhat irked Jorge a little bit, who had his own response and said, well, let's see what we can do in the clash of the titans here over 27 laps this afternoon. You feel, Lewis, a big point to prove, and trying to turn frustration into motivation today, the Martinator. Yeah,
revenge is in his mind. This was Jorge Martin's retort to that. It's easy to say that when you've just won. Jorge Martin hoping to replicate the winning margin that Pecco thought he'd have yesterday. He's got a score to settle, arguably with Pecco Bagnaia, but most unquestionably with this Mandalika circuit. Not just after yesterday's sprint slip-up, but also 1 year ago when Jorge Martin took the World Championship lead with his sprint victory and then lost it with a crash out of a 3-second lead in the race. He might lose the World Championship lead today if he slips up again, of course with that advantage now slipping to 12 points over Pecco Bagnaia. But there is no question Jorge Martin does start this Indonesian Grand Prix as favourite.
He's never finished an Indonesian Grand Prix here in Mandalika because he crashed out in the torrential rain conditions of 2022. Coming in here to Mandalika, only one rider in the current MotoGP field has featured on both of our Mandalika podiums in 2022 and 2023. And it was the French superstar, 25-year-old Fabio Quartararo. Second in 2022 in the rain behind Miguel Oliveira from pole position. He started 4th last year, an excellent 5th in the sprint. He was 3rd in the Grand Prix, only 0.4 of a second behind Bagnaia. That was Fabio Quartararo's last MotoGP podium. Comes here, though, in good nick. The rapidly improving factory Yamaha YZR M1 carried him to his best qualifying in 20 rounds here yesterday. His best, actually, since he was 4th on the grid here in Mandalika last weekend. So Quartararo looking for a strong ride once again here in Mandalika from 6 on the grid.
Pecco Bagnaia might already consider this Indonesian Grand Prix weekend as something of a bonus already. Of course, came into the sprint yesterday perhaps as the underdog, but ended it as the winner. As you can see, just to the right as you look, to Pecco's left, he came rather close to being caught and passed on the final lap by his teammate Enea Bastianini. But Bagnaia, I don't think in his wildest dreams when he went to bed on Friday night after he very nearly found himself in Q1 once again here in Lombok, would never have thought that he was going to not only gain points on Jorge Martin, but gain a full 12. So even if he follows Martin home and finishes second to Martin today, which I'm sure he doesn't intend on doing, he would still come out of the weekend having gained points on Jorge Martin at a circuit that he must know Martin comes into as the stronger.
Bring in the noise, bring in the passion, as they always do. The Indonesian fans enjoying the pre-race build-up here in Lombok, looking cool as you can be when the ambient temperature is over 30 degrees. It's Fabio Quartararo Quartararo. This was him trying to be aggressive in a big battle it was for 4th, 5th and 6th at this stage of the sprint. Just a little bit too aggressive as he ploughed into the side of former factory Yamaha teammate Frankie Morbidelli in the final sector. This was the move which ended Quartararo's hopes of a top 6 yesterday. He took the checkered flag eventually in 12th place. Of course, when you're down on power, particularly against the army of Ducatis that he's having to battle with, you have to sometimes get a bit creative, maybe get a little bit over aggressive, as Fabio Quartararo was there. But he's had a fantastic weekend so far this weekend. That was a brilliant performance from his fellow Frenchman yesterday, Johan Zarco. In fact, a fantastic performance from Zarco all weekend. The 34-year-old French rider, his best LCR qualifying, second time this season into Q2. It was the first, well, LCR, of course, last Honda winners, weren't they, in Kota last year. Zarco taking his first sprint point of the season in an excellent 8th place. He said that felt like a victory. What can he do over the full race distance here this afternoon? Well, I'm delighted to say LCR Honda boss Lucio Cecchinello joins Simon down in pit lane.
He does. We're in the shade and just in front of the garage, watching all the mechanics prepare, literally are prepared. And I thought I'd catch Lucio on this few moments before it all kicks off. And I'd like to tell the listeners, Lucio, I first heard about you. I turned up to Europe for the first time. I'd only ever been in New Zealand, Japan, Malaysia, UK for a year. Turned up to Europe in '93, and I had the Bertie family. I was staying with them. They sponsored me for boots, Diodora boots, and I was obviously learning, soaking up the GP paddock, trying to understand who was who, and they brought you up, and they said this amazing guy is not only riding the World Championships, not only won races in the World Championship, but it's his team. He organises the sponsors, the other rider does the deals, and I was like, wow. So I kind of kept an eye on you after that, and you're still a team manager. And I mean, there's riders like, you tell me if I've missed any, but Casey Stoner, I think I remember him being your first. I mean, unreal. You know, Carl Crutchlow, the first British winner for like something like 35 years on your machine. I think a couple of times, no, 2 or 3, and 3, yes. And you're the last team to win with a Honda. And since then, it's been quite dark times looking from the outside. And it must be, I would love to know if it is the hardest time of your management career, and now it feels like it's been on the bottom, it's coming back. We've seen some light at the end of the tunnel, some amazing determination and performances from Johan. And I would love to get all this take from the man himself.
Thank you so much, first of all, for the presentation. Thank you.
It's the truth.
Nah, thank you. Well, you know, we feel lucky because I am full of passion for racing and surrounded by wonderful people and supported by Honda, and we are really proud and happy to be here. Of course, as you said, it is probably the toughest period of our racing history, because yes, apart the highlight of last year when Alex Rins won the American Grand Prix, we are facing very, very poor performances, and yes, we are working very, very hard together with Honda HRC to improve the bike. Also Johan Zarco and Taka Nakagami, but also both HRC riders are giving their best. We are seeing a small improvement. We are seeing small improvements, but I want to keep my feet on the ground, because also this racetrack is quite uncommon, because it's a lot of corners are very fast and not tight and or 180-degree corners. Is a circuit where you can flow and you can ride applying a particular energetic riding style, but there are not really stop and go, there are not really 180 grid of corners, so maybe it's also due to the track layout that we are we see our riders a little bit more competitive. But definitely, yes, with the latest evolution, we have made a small step.
And from here, I'm sure all the listeners would like to know as well, is your hopes. Like, do you know Honda, how hard they are working, what you have in store, when you will try new things?
Yes, basically, it's remarkable the work they are doing, because from the beginning of the season we received, I don't joke, we received 3 updated engines. Of course, under the homologation, but basically the Honda provide for different engines. We received at least, I would say, other 3 different aero package. We received different chassis parts,
Swing arms,
and we received also different chassis.
Exhaust.
We received different exhausts. You remember everything. So in reality, also now we are working on a different clutch, because this is one of the weakest point we have at the moment, is the start. We need to improve our start. Basically, they are keeping working in every direction, and they are keeping delivering new item. The process is that the new item normally first goes to Stefan Bradl. With their test team, they test the parts, and then we are definitely made the validation of what eventually is the parts promoted by Stefan. And I must say that the truth is that when it happened, I think, to everybody. When you produce like 10 items, there are 8 that doesn't really make any remarkable or appreciable change. But maybe 2 of them, you know, they make a step forward. So after having tested so many parts, I must say that now the current package, I guess, is half a second faster than the beginning of the year bike. And I would say that 3/10 are coming definitely from the new aero package.
Unreal. So before we run out of time, I'd love to hear your take on your riders, because Johan has been exceptional lately, is not giving up through that tough time, and really squeezing everything out that Honda give him.
Yes, I work with many riders, but I must say that Johan it's really motivated, really fully motivated, and it's impressive because he never give up. He never give up, and this is the true racing spirit, and we all love it.
Lucio, thank you for your time. Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Simon. Thanks very much as well to LCR Honda boss Lucio Cecchinello, of course. He celebrating Zarco's first sprint points of the season. Johan Zarco going for Honda's first top 10 in the Grand Prix, believe it or not. This gives indication of how hard times have got for the Japanese superpower. Last top 10 was Marc Marquez's 6th place in the Thai Grand Prix in Buram last year. That's on a Sunday. Zarco, Honda's first top 10 of the season in a sprint or a Grand Prix, as the engines fire into life. And that means it's time for the formation lap here in Mandalika. Sighting lap underway. And it's all eyes, isn't it, on Jorge Martin. What will be the response from the setback of the spill yesterday in the sprint? Didn't really affect him this morning. He did lead the brief 10-minute warm-up session. In terms of tyres, well, it's the usual Michelin allocation: soft, medium, hard front, soft, medium rear. Now, there has been a specific recommendation released by Michelin. Of course, the soft rear tyre, I think 5 riders ran the soft rear tyre in the Grand Prix here last year. They did encounter some issues. Now, because everybody's going to run the hard front, it'd be gobsmacked if anybody tries to run the soft front tyre for 27 laps in the excruciating heat, the hot temperatures here in Mandalika. but there was a directive, a specific message which came out yesterday from Michelin to the teams, where they said, this is a statement directly from the French tyre supplier, Michelin does not recommend this option, speaking about the soft rear. It's clearly not designed to provide high consistency over 27 laps on a very hot and demanding track. So anybody that does decide to take a poke on that soft rear tyre will be going against the advice and the recommendations of Michelin.
Yeah, it is worth pointing out, the tyre hasn't been withdrawn from the allocation, so it is still an option if a team or a rider believe it's worth the gamble, but boy, would it be a gamble to fit the soft rear tyre for this one. Marco Bezzecchi did run the soft front tyre and was competitive on it yesterday. Would have been in that battle for the podium on the final lap had he not had that moment into turn 10 where he very nearly ran into the back of his good friend Pecco Bagnaia. But again, double the distance this afternoon, a very different challenge, a much tougher challenge, facing rider, machine and rubber, which will tempt most riders, if not all, to take the conservative option today.
So for the 40th time in his Grand Prix career, the 19th time in MotoGP, Jorge Martin finds his way to the front of the grid. It will be a little niggle, a little doubt at the back of his mind after 2 crashes yesterday in that tricky, tight second gear right-hander turn 16, where he bit the dust in the sprint yesterday. And punishing while he was down was 27-year-old Italian Pecco Bagnaia, who comes to the head of the second row of the grid. First time Bagnaia's starting off the front row since the German Grand Prix at the Saxon Ring, although of course it was here last year, helped in a large part by Martin's mistake when he was leading by over 3 seconds. Bagnaia did eventually win the Mandalika Grand Prix of 2023, having started from the 5th row of the grid in 13th place. Listen to the fans. They're getting whipped up into a frenzy by the local announcer here, who's doing a fantastic job of building up the atmosphere. Not that they need to, because there was always a special atmosphere here in Mandalika as we get ready for the pre-race build-up, the special shows under clear blue skies. What lies in store for Bears? Can it be simply the Bears here once again in Mandalika? Probably. It certainly felt like he might have had something late on for Bagnaia in that sprint had he not had an issue with the dislodged brake pads. A bit of a head shake as he came through turn 8 and 9. When he grabbed a handful of brake going into turn 10, there was nothing there. Pumping the brakes, thankfully, by inches, he missed, ploughing into the back of his great friend Pecco Bagnaia. That would have been a big talking point here on Saturday night in Lombok.
Well, here's Fabio Quartararo taking his place on the second row of a MotoGP grid for the first time since he last sat on this grid 12 months ago. Of course, Yamaha have been making clear, obvious progress in recent times, although Fabio Quartararo denied the opportunity to take their best result of the season. A 5th place was his with a corner or 2 to go in Misano a week ago before he ran out of gas. If Quartararo is going to be in anything like that kind of position today, he believes he needs a strong first 2-3 laps. Well,
as we know, Ducati are dominant in the 2024 MotoGP World Championship. Last time out in Emilia-Romagna, they wrapped up a 5th successive Constructor World Championship. And Enea Bastianini took their 100th Premier Class success. To win today for Ducati would be the 12th in a row record for the Borgo Panigale brand. It would be the best for a single manufacturer since Honda in 2014. What lies in store for Bagnaia and Bastianini? First and second in the sprint. Let's get some thoughts from the boss, Davide Tardozzi.
Davide, your riders first and second yesterday. What are you expecting from today with most people with different tyres?
Yeah, I think that Martin wants his revenge on the unlucky crash of yesterday, and I guess that it will be very tough for sure in the first couple of laps, but we'll see, because 27 laps here in Mandalika are really tough on the body side. So we'll see also the health of the riders, how it will be on the last 5-10 laps.
Thank you, Davide. Good luck.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. The potential prospect of a big battle in the last 5 or 10 laps. It will be all about managing the tyres. Well, in the hot and humid conditions, we mentioned about the reluctance to run the soft rear tyre. Look, everybody is running the medium rear, or is coming to the grid with a medium rear as instructed by Michelin. But we've got, what, 6 riders, Lewis? It looks like, including Marco Bezzecchi on the front row, who's taken a bit of a punt by running the soft front.
Yeah, the consensus up and down the pit lane is that the medium front tyre is not an option this afternoon. It's going to be either the soft or the hard. The hard not only gives you the braking strength and stability, but it also, of course, will get you through the race. Johann Zarco has had such a strong weekend so far. He goes from the 3rd row of the grid. He's talking to Simon.
He is. Johann, I really wanted to come and talk to you. Your professionalism, determination, skill lately, awesome. What are you feeling about today's long, hot race?
Thank you for the compliments. And I would love to be in the top 10 again today. Trust my lap, it's quite long, and medium rear tire, I saw this morning everyone was pretty fast on it. So I guess the first half will be very intense. Then I hope when the grip will drop a bit for the opponents, then I can find a bit more margin and have some comfort on the bike to confirm this top 10 and enjoy this Sunday.
Thank you, good luck.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. Thanks very much to LCR Honda's Johann Zarco, keeping himself out of the sunlight, out of the heat and humidity for as long as he possibly can. Looking very relaxed, isn't he, Frankie Morbidelli? Yeah. He's one of those riders that is going to take a little bit of a punt on the soft front tyre. Morbidelli was 5th at the checkered flag in the sprint. He really did pay for his poor qualifying, having been fastest on Friday and Saturday morning. Martinet to Mandalika is magic. Mr. Pecco, keep number 1.
The beast wake up.
Yes. Well, I think Mr. Pecco, yeah, the target is very much to keep the number 1 for a 3rd successive season. Johann Zarco, as he said, he'd love to get a top 10 finish. He has scored points in 5 of the last 7 Grand Prix. His season best on Sundays is a 12th spot. So the colossal dance and singing group putting on a rather special pre-race show here in Mandalika. I'm sure enjoying it down on the grid. Simon Crafer and Gas Tech 3 boss Nico Goyon with Pedro Acosta on the front row of the grid for just the 3rd time in his impressive rookie season.
Yeah, hugely impressive rookie season for Pedro, and he's always squeezing the maximum out of what he's got. Yesterday, it felt like he didn't have the pace to go with the very front. I don't know what happened exactly, but how are you feeling about this longer race with no doubt the medium rear tyre?
Yeah, well, it's true. We know in this condition, especially in the sprint, we lack a bit of speed. To be fair, he had a good start, but it looks like the Ducati, they have something extra by using a soft tire in this condition. Out of 1 lap, we are still able to do like we did in quali, but out of the full sprint, we don't know how to use the full extra grip from the soft tire. It's an issue. We know this almost from the beginning of the season. We're trying to work out of it, but this is reality. We are 1 step down in this condition. With a medium tire, we hope it should be better. It should be better.
Great news. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. Thanks to Nico Goyon. Yeah, high hopes for Pedro Acosta, finishing in 6th place he was in that 13-lap sprint yesterday. Acosta feels like, finally, the Piero Mobility Group are putting a motorcycle underneath him where he can race and he can fight and ultimately hope he can beat the Ducatis, which is a tough task at the moment, isn't it? As we mentioned, Ducati beaten only once on Sundays so far in 2024. What a season it has been for the Borgo Panigale brand. Briefly looked up from my notes there and saw Marco Bezzecchi with the cool towel wrapped around his head. spitting image, wasn't he, there in that moment, of the boss, Valentino Rossi, the 9 times world champion, who I'm sure will be tuning in, watching back at home in Europe to see if Marco Bezzecchi can give the team the leaving present he so desperately wants to. Of course, it was in Emilia-Romagna last weekend where Marco came to the pre-event press conference and said he's got one wish, one box left to tick, and that's just before he leaves to go to the factory Aprilia team next season, at least one more podium he'd love to give to VR46 Racing. Now then, Jorge Martin in recovery mode, in comeback mode after his spill in the sprint yesterday. He's had great speed, great pace all weekend, a big threat for the victory here in Mandalika. Let's get the thoughts from the boss, Gino Borsoy.
Gino, Jorge Martin has been awesome all weekend. Absolutely incredible speed. Shame about yesterday, but what about today?
Well, today, for what we know and what we check from the data, I think we have a bit more advantage compared to the other with the hard and medium rear, because his pace was incredible, and the feeling with the bike, as Jorge said, it's good. We didn't touch the bike all the weekend, so when it's like this, means that everything works in a perfect way. So let's see, the wind is so strong today, especially the corner where he had a crash yesterday. Become even more difficult. You have to pay attention at the first corner to understand how strong is the wind, and that's it.
Okay. Is there other concerns for you? For example, tyre durability, rider durability, because at the end of this distance, it's got to be hard.
Oh, physically, it's a demanding circuit for sure. He's so strong, he trains a lot, so I'm pretty sure physical side he don't suffer a lot. Of course, will be difficult and tough at the end of the race, but I think he's okay.
Thank you, Gino.
Thank you.
Big day, big race, big 27 laps you feel, isn't it, coming up for Jorge Martin as he looks to block out of his mind the disappointment of the sprint tumble yesterday, going into that 13-lapper. What about 24 hours ago, just under 24 hours ago? I think we all felt it was looking like Martin would certainly stretch out that 24-point lead in the World Championship. As it happened, though, as we found out to his cost, it was halved by Pecco Bagnaia, who's just having a little chat with Italian TV. I think a lot of people thinking as well, in these hot and humid conditions, it's very sticky here in this part of Southeast Asia, with tyre management and tyre life going to be such a critical factor. There's a lot of focus, a lot of attention on the rider in the middle of that second row, 5th place, Enea Bastianini, as Jorge Martin also just out of the limelight and out of the sunlight as well. Let's just go down on the grid very quickly to hear from Yamaha boss Maio Meregali with Simon.
Yes, Maio. A lot of people expected more from Fabio yesterday, even Tardozzi saying he expected him as a threat. It wasn't possible to come through. What about today? Any difference with this harder medium rear tyre over the longer distance?
Yeah, we hope that we will see a different race. For sure, we don't expect a big difference compared to yesterday. You know, here we really suffer some lack of power, because for Fabio has been impossible to overtake. So first he had to try to block the others. It means changing his way to ride the bike, and accordingly the performance reflect on this. The only place where I could try, and he tried to pass Morbidelli, it cost him almost a crash, and he also lost some position. So then the race basically was done. For today, we changed front and rear tire. We move from soft to hard medium. We also try to improve as much as we could the braking, because it's maybe the only way where we can try to block the others overtaking us, and maybe allowed us to be a bit more aggressive. But the problem is that going out of the corners, we lose some power, and then he can't really prepare an overtake.
Thank you, Maio. Good luck this afternoon.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much, Simon. Thanks to Maio Meregali. Let's see what Quartararo can do from 6th place on the grid. It's very, very short. As we can see, the Indonesian president is here on site for this very special occasion in the Indonesian sporting calendar. we will take a pause now for the Indonesian national anthem.
Indonesia, tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibuku. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita berseru, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Beaming with national pride, over 60,000 here this afternoon singing Indonesia Raya, the national anthem of Indonesia. Let's head down to the grid and get some more pre-race thoughts, this time from the Aprilia camp. Paolo Vanoras with Simon.
Paolo, it's been a tough weekend here, Mandalika, so far. What about this longer race?
Yeah, yesterday we showed not such a bad pace, in particular with Maverick, but also with Raul after his crash. He demonstrated that the bike is good in this track, despite of a bad qualifying position. So will be for sure not so easy the race, but we trust on our rider in Aleix and Maverick, because with the rear tire medium, we hope that we can manage the race until the last lap.
Good luck.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, while we're on the subject of the factory Aprilia team, a special mention, a special shout out to the veteran, 35-year-old Aleix Espargaro, just about, what, 8 or 9 minutes away from making his 250th appearance in the MotoGP World Championship. What a landmark that is for Aleix. It certainly hasn't been an easy celebratory weekend, though. 3 crashes already so far for Aleix. And it's his worst sprint finish as well yesterday when he took the checker flag in 16th place. Marc Marquez trying to remain on the throne as the comeback king in this year's MotoGP World Championship. The 3rd time yesterday. This year he's come to podium in a sprint from outside of the top 10 on the grid. He did it in Le Mans and in Catalonia. Already 3 times on a Sunday so far this season. Marc Marquez has fought his way through to the podium from outside the top 10, Le Mans, Catalonia and in the Saxony. Let's get the thoughts from the boss. Is there more Mandalika heroics in store from Marc? Michele Massini joins Simon.
Michele, what Marc did off the start yesterday was phenomenal. What's the chance of, over this long distance, doing the same sort of result?
There is always the same chance to do the same result of yesterday, but the reality that we had at the pace for making a top 5, but for sure the key will be to make a good start, try to recover as much position as possible in the first 5 laps, then we will see.
Thank you, Michele. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much to Michele Massini. Marc Marquez still in the championship picture, 53 points he is behind Jorge Martin. Pecco Bagnaia getting himself ready for this battle in Mandalika. Marc Marquez then from 12th place on the grid. Got a storming start off the line, didn't he, from that fourth row, and then by the time he got the break on the brakes into turn 2 yesterday, he was already inside the top 5. And it was a good battle, almost held off Bastianini late on in that sprint, but yet another podium. They keep getting notched up, don't they, for the 31-year-old Spaniard. If you're joining us for the first time this weekend and wondering why Marc is marooned down on that fourth row of the grid, well, once again, for the 3rd Grand Prix in succession, he had a very dramatic Q2. Crashes in Q2 in San Marino and Emilia Romagna at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, he was on the floor twice yesterday at turn 15 and at turn 10. That's the reason why Marquez has plenty of work to do once again here in the Pertamina Grand Prix of Indonesia.
Confirmed tyre information is through from Michelin, and as we saw on the grid lineup before this Grand Prix got underway around about 20 minutes ago, the 6 riders you saw have gone for the soft front tyre. In grid order, they are Bezzecchi, Di Gianantonio, Morbidelli, Aleix Espargaro, Alex Marquez and Alex Rins.
So 6 riders, nearly a third of the field then, have decided to plump for the soft front tyre. Fabio Quartararo getting himself geared up and ready for this 27-lap Indonesian Grand Prix. Safety car peels away from the front of the grid. That means only one thing, doesn't it? 5 minutes to race start here as we begin our fly-away tour here in Indonesia.
One last-minute change according to Michelin. Fabio Di Gianantonio has switched to the soft rear tyre.
Soft front, soft rear then for Fabio Di Gianantonio. We can see what his motto is here this afternoon. Go hell for leather, go for broken, then see what happens. 3rd front row start of the season. He's qualified top 6 in the last 4 Grand Prix. Pedro Acosta on the front row. Marco Bezzecchi leading the home charge for Pertamina here this weekend. He's been like adopted here by the Indonesian fans, godlike status. But Jorge Martin looking to bounce back from his Mandalika misery here yesterday. The Martinator World Championship leader starts on pole.